Hey everybody, it's David. I want to give you a preview for Module 3 coming up. Module 3, and let's get started. Make sure, again, every time you log into the course, you check the announcements. You check a few other things in there as well. Hopefully that will help you along your way. So Module 3, the topics this week talk about assessing your sources, and it talks about substance. This is a very important lesson, particularly in the world and in the world we're in today with fake news. And again, regardless of what side you are on the political persuasion, there is enough fake news going around on the liberal / progressive side as there is on the conservative side. So both places, I believe, can claim a victory there if they're looking at quantity. So this week on the Read and Study, you're going to be reading Chapter 6 that talks about evaluating the credibility of claims and sources. And then the textbook writers in Chapter 7 give you a 4-test method to evaluate arguments. I think that is probably one of the key takeaways that I want to make sure you pocket this week, is to take a look at those. So you have your traditional lectures, videos, and sketchnote videos for both. And then Module 3, problem solving, this week talks about recognizing your assumptions. We all face or bring into an argument or an idea some assumptions. Some of them are good and some of them are not so good. Think about the biases perhaps that you have, that you bring into arguments, that are based upon the experience you have, that are based upon just some ideas that you have been indoctrinated with, perhaps in other jobs, experiences, families, those types of things. So this is an important lesson as we go forward here. So let's talk about the deliverables this week. Module 3 discussion talks about definitive words, and these are words like are, all, usually, will, must. And sometimes they're used, and many times they're used inappropriately. I still find myself using those words. And quite frankly, when you use the word all, or you have the implied all that you have, it's just flat out not true. So think about this. I mean, if you use these blanket statements like Republicans are for the rich and Democrats are pro-abortion, Southerners are racist, Northerners are progressive, if you make those statements, all I would have to do is find one person who, for example, here in the Republicans are for the rich, all I would have to do is find one Republican who was not for the rich and disprove your argument. All I would have to do is find one Democrat who was not pro-abortion to disprove your argument. But again, in today's society, we use these for shock value. So we'll use all, always, usually, will, and quite frankly, it's just simply not true. So I want you to talk about that this week in the discussion forum. Again, do not get personal on this one, because as soon as you begin to do that, then you're proving the point, right? The assignment this week talks about evaluating arguments, and Chapter 7 does provide that 4-test method. I have, and I'm going to send you a video that talks about how can you go find some sources at the CSU online library. So what I've done, and I did this in a prior class and you're going to get the benefit of the video, is to show you how to find sources at the CSU online library that may help you find key things to help on this particular question. So make sure you take a look at that. And then the application this week is about recognizing assumptions. And I mean, again, let's face it, if we're in charge of solving a particular problem, we will have inherent bias coming forward. Now, bias isn't a bad thing. bias can be a good thing, because if it's properly applied, then it's experience that can be of value. But in some instances, bias can be a bad thing. It can prohibit you from being open to new ideas, new conclusions, new research, and those types of things. And so this week, as you continue to work on the problem that you've identified, it would be important that not only you recognize your assumptions, but perhaps your organization or your team has some biases and are making some assumptions that you're bringing into this, that at the very least you need to make sure that you address. Because again, don't bury those under the rug. Too often, I think, what's happened in problem solving is it's sort of the elephant in the room type of deal. We all know that, we'll say that. We'll know that, David as the leader is against X. And so therefore, he may have a particular bias against a solution that would involve doing X. And so it's very important to not only have organizational honesty, but individual honesty as you recognize the assumptions that you're bringing into the problem-solving arena. So important lesson this week, and hopefully all of these pieces will help you begin to develop a strategy to solve problems, but also a strategy to be honest with yourself and with your organization. All right? Have a great week. Let me know if you need anything.